what attracted me to silver specifically was that only, and you know this better than anybody, 30% of silver comes from pure silver mines. So we talk about the deficits. We talk about the deficits today and the shortages today. What are they going to be in 5 years when all those big base metal mines don't spit out all that silver because the cost is too much to get them into operation, or you can't get water, or the local community says, no, thank you, not in my backyard. So I'm here because we haven't taken out the 1980 $50 high. We touched it up in 2011, but we're nowhere near. We're half the price today. So silver's got the best outlook in terms of where it's trading, where it has been trading. You look at the supply demand fundamentals, you look at all these other factors, and then we haven't even touched on the growing industrial usages, right? Solar panels, or if we are going to get to where some of these countries want to get to in terms of EVs and building out the EV infrastructure. There is no substitute for silver. There's a shortage of silver. There is literally a list of maybe a dozen companies that are real silver plays that you can own. And one of them, one of the biggest and best and greatest, just became a gold company a week ago. I'm referring to Pan American Silver and their bid to buy Yamana's assets with Agnico Eagle. So, one of the handful of names that investors could go to play silver is now a gold company. So the list just got smaller.
Yeah, and certainly you mentioned how we have a lot of that silver coming from the non-primary miners. I continue to read almost somewhat daily about the permitting issues really becoming tougher for some of these big copper deposits. I know you see that up firsthand. Is that matching what you're seeing, where it seems like even with a higher copper price, especially then you add in the time lag from when a new project actually gets into production there, which takes quite a while. But anything in particular on the permitting side, because I know that's something people have been concerned about.
Okay, let's pretend for a second that we didn't have like this big inflation. Let's pretend for a second that people were okay with a mine in their backyard. Let's pretend for a second that there was an abundance of water and tremendous infrastructure. And let's just pretend for a second that you lived in this perfect, utopian, harmonious world. If you were to make a sensational new discovery, which, every anomaly that you drill test, maybe 1 in 10,000 become an economic mine. So let's say you were lucky, you had lived in this utopia, and you won the lottery and you hit something that was going to become a mine. You're 10 years away from it becoming a mine in the fastest, best scenario. So where are we going to get this metal, Chris? And that's where, when people talk about triple digit silver, I don't react. If they said quadruple digit silver, I might go, okay, that's interesting. But triple digit silver, wake me when it's here, because it should be here already.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with what we're seeing here, where we have a big deficit. You can also take a look at the Silver Institute numbers, where you can see that 900 million ounces being mined in 2016 has been steadily falling. They're forecasting 843 million ounces this year, although I just wonder if we're seeing these deficits now and you have a lot of these miners nearing the cost of production. What do you see this looking like 5 years out from now? Is there any way, aside from a higher price, that this gets resolved? I mean, I suppose some of these mandates to decarbonize the world, perhaps they just don't get met yet. I think that's something that'd be useful, especially from your perspective, for people to hear, where, okay, it's tough for some people who've bought silver at a little bit of a higher price when they see the $21 level now, but is there, aside from the mandates not being met, is there a way other than the higher price that this ends up going forward?
No. You're going to need a combination of factors to resolve this issue. And the combination of factors So you need a higher price, right? You need, and the way we look at that higher price is you need a sustained average over a 3-year period of that higher price to incentivize the development and the further exploration of new discoveries. And so the way this gets resolved is with that higher sustained price, you can then start being able to economically produce lower grade material. And that's where you satisfy the demand. And I've run some sensitivity analysis and where you'd need that price to go. And so I think conservatively is we need the silver price to move up by about 65% from its current levels, and we need it sustained there for over a 3-year period, and then we could start to see some supply come onto the system. But again, that's not how markets work, particularly in the commodity business. They're not that orderly, right? So it is going to be violent. It is going to be a situation where momentum takes over, and you're going to have the silver price, in my estimate, go up by 400% or 500% before you reach some of those longer term averages to sustain projects. And it's a great time to, again, I was talking to some people that are new to investing. And I just kept it really, really simple for them, because I said, look, you can go out and you can get a coin. Up here in Canada, you could maybe get, for $30 an ounce, give or take $1 or $2, you can get yourself an ounce of silver. So for about 30 Canadian dollars. Now, price of silver goes to 90, goes to 120. You've quadrupled your money. That's great. You know what? That's a great investment. Now, if you were to invest in a company like Dolly Varden, for example, that has 140 million ounces in the ground, that's where you get the leverage, and that's where the silver equities really shine. Or if it's a company like First Majestic, and you'd know First Majestic's annual production better than I would, but what are they producing? Like 8-9 million ounces a year? Is that about right?
They had record production of 8.8 silver equivalent ounces last year. So that's including their gold production too.
Okay.
Last quarter, rather. Last
quarter, yeah. So there's a company where, right now on some of their projects, they're at a break even, silver, and this is where, you've got the big billionaire backer of the space, Eric Sprott, who's an accountant, because he understands this better than anybody, is when you start to, the profitability for these companies that are at a break even today, when you get the price rise, you become, $5, you become 100% more profitable. $10, 200% more profitable. And that's where the leverage comes in. And, I haven't looked at FR recently, but that's a stock in previous bull markets was a $40 stock. And that's where it'll go if silver goes to $30, $35. What does it do if silver goes to $40, $50, $60, $70?